Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Grade 12 webinar for English Home Language. Let's allow time. I see there are still a few people signing in. We'll wait another 2 minutes, then we will start. Hello, everyone. I am still here. I still see that there are still people trying to log in. We'll wait another minute. Right, I see everybody is logged in now. Let's get on our way. My name is Wendy Pepler. I am the Chief Education Specialist for English Home Language. Before we begin this webinar, let's cover some of the basics. If you are struggling to hear me, please make sure that your audio is on and your speaker volume is turned up. I want to repeat that. Make sure that your speaker volume is turned up. You will automatically be muted when joining the session, meaning that you will not be able to speak. Should you have any questions, you can ask your question in the question box below or on the right, or raise your hand. To raise your hand, click on the icon on the dashboard below or on your right. You will see on your right, there is a little hand. If you click on it, a little hand will appear and the organizer or myself will be able to see it. You will also find all this information in the question box below on your right. That is to download your presentation. At the end of this presentation, there will be handouts and you can download them. Remember to send us your questions. The webinar slides will be made available on YouTube at https://channel/UT.com/channels/UC1HIOBORSS-DT17PI9KXSQG. I'll keep this slide on for a moment that you can write down this link. I'd now like you to raise your hands so that I can see if everybody can see and hear me. Right, let's carry on. We are going to this, in the next few webinars, I will discuss poetry for term 2 that has been prescribed for you in your study guides. I would just like to, for the people that are not part of IMPOC, to take note that these poems may not necessarily be the same as yours, as these poems are the poems for IMPOC learners who write the Sakai examination. I also want my grade 12s to note that there is a lot of literature to cover before the June exams. Go to your year plan, make sure that you have studied everything. I will be discussing some of the poems, maybe not all, depending on the time allowed. But you also must take note that both your drama and novel will be included in the June examinations. So please read, read, read. Now, let's get to the poem for today. I Have My Father's Voice by Chris van Wyk. If we look at the title, I Have My Father's Voice, we will see that this person is indicating that he perhaps speaks like his father, or even better, that he is like his father. The I have my father's voice, indicates that this poem is written in the first person. In other words, it is the poet that or speaker that is narrating himself. I am now going to read it, and while I'm reading, there are certain words that have been highlighted that I will explain to you as we go along. When I walk into a room where my father has just been, I fill the same space as he did, from the elbows on the table to the head thrown back. And when we laugh, we aim the guffo. The guffo is a roar of laughter. At the same space in the air. Before anybody has told me this, I know, because I see myself through my father's eyes. When I was a pigeon-toed boy. Pigeon-toed means that the toes point inwards. My father used his voice to send me to bed, to run and buy the newspaper, to scribble my way through matric. To scribble, meaning to write carelessly or untidily. He also used his voice for harsher things, to bluster. Bluster meaning to complain, to protest, when we made a noise. When the kitchen wasn't cleaned for supper, when I was out too late. Late for work on many mornings, one sock in hand, its twin. An angry glint. A glint in his eye he flings. It's a harsh gleam of light. Dirty clothes out of the washing box. Vests, jeans, pants, and shirts shouting. Anagrams of fee, fo, fi, fum until he is up. Anagrams are words formed by rearranging letters. For instance, poem. If we rearrange the letters of poem, we could come up with the word mope. That is an anagram. To his knees in a stinking heap of laundry. I have my father's voice too, and his fuming temper, and I shout as he does, but I spew the words out. Spew, spill, pour forth. In pairs of alliteration and an air of assonance, everything a poet needs. My father has bequeathed me. Bequeathed means that he has left, bestowed upon me. Most often when a testament has been set up or somebody has passed away and you inherit something, except the words. Now I'm going to read lines 1 and 7 again to you twice. I want you to listen very carefully while I read them again. When I walk into a room where my father has just been, I fill the same spaces he did, from the elbows on the table to the head thrown back. And when we laugh, we aim the guffo at the same space in the air. Listen again. When I walk into a room where my father has just been, I fill the same spaces he did, from the elbows on the table to the head thrown back. And when we laugh, we aim the guffo at the same space in the air. The poet's humorous personality is revealed, showing us what characteristics he shared with his father. He takes after his father, each of them, He fills the space. They are not quiet, shy, retiring people. Their presence is felt. When they leave the room, they leave a gap. Note the body language used in these 7 lines. Elbows on the table, the head thrown back as they aim the gaffer. Everything they have in common with each other. They are so similar. Even the angle at which the poet's head is thrown back is the same as his father's. Now I will read lines 8 to 10, again twice to you. Listen carefully. Before anybody has told me, this I know, because I see myself through my father's eyes. Again. Before anybody has told me, this I know, because I see myself through my father's eyes. It is quite clear that others have also noticed the similarities between the poet and his father. He says that he knows it himself before anyone else tells him. Again, repeating to it, it is quite clear that others have also noticed the similarities. He says that he knows it himself before anyone else tells him. I see myself through my father's eyes. This could suggest that they are so similar that it is as if he looks through his father's eyes. His father's approval is important to him. Lines 11 to 15. When I was a pigeon-toed boy, my father used his voice to send me to bed, to run and buy the newspaper, to scribble my way through matric. Note what his father used his voice for. When I was a pigeon-toed boy, a very young boy, my father used his voice to send me to bed, to run and buy the newspaper, to scribble my way through matric. The image of a pigeon-toed boy implies someone who lacks confidence, someone very young. His father used his voice. He ordered his son to go to bed, to buy the newspaper, etc. The poet says that he scribbled his way through matric. This could mean that he did not show interest in his work and did everything hurriedly, or that he found it so easy that he did not need to make a great effort. Lines 16 to 19. He also used his voice for harsher things, to bluster when we made a noise, when the kitchen wasn't cleaned for supper, when I was out too late. Again, he also used his voice for harsher things, to blusher when we made a noise, when the kitchen wasn't cleaned for supper, when I was out too late. His father also used his voice when they made a noise, when the kitchen was not cleaned, when he was out late. It seems as if his father was irritated by any of the above. When he used his voice, it could mean that he shouted or that he sounded very strict. Now let's look at lines 20 to 23. Late for work on many mornings, one sock in hand, its twin. An angry glint in his eye, he flings dirty clothes out of the washing basket. Again, late for work on many mornings, one sock in hand, its twin. An angry glint in his eye, he flings dirty clothes out of the washing basket. It seems when he is running late for work and he only finds one sock in hand, in other words, only one sock possibly in his drawer, he suspects that that only one was washed and that the other one is still in the washing basket. You'll see as we carry on to line 24 to 26, it actually follows directly onto 2023. I'm going to repeat from line 20. Late for work on many mornings, one sock in hand its twin. An angry glint in his eye, he flings dirty clothes out of the washing box. Vests, jeans, pants, and shirts shouting anagrams of fee, fo, fi, fum, until he is up to his knees in a stinking heap of laundry. Vests, jeans, pants, and shirts shouting anagrams of fee, fo, fi, fum, until he is up to his knees in a stinking heap of laundry. Anagrams of fee, fo, fi, fum could be arranged into a word the father used. What could these words possibly be? The poet is humorously suggesting that the father swore as he angrily searched for his missing sock. You can just imagine what is being said. I don't think I need say more. Note the alliteration of the F sound. Fee, fi, fo, fum, and fuming. This creates a connection, and we can imagine the poet losing his temper and shouting like his father. Let's look at lines 30 to 32. I have my father's voice too, and his fuming temper, and I shout as he does, but I spew the words out in pairs of alliteration and an air of assonance. Again, I have my father's voice too, and his fuming temper, and I shout as he does, but I spew the words out in pairs of alliteration and an air of assonance. He shouts angrily and has no control of his words. He spews the words out. But his words have a poetic sound with the alliteration and assonance noticeable. I'll repeat there. But I spew the words out in pairs of alliteration and an air of assonance. Now, let's look at lines 33 to 35. The poet has inherited everything from his father, a passionate and vibrant personality, lust for life. He has, however, not given him the words. And there I'll take you back to lines 31, or actually from lines 30 to 32. But I spew the words out in pairs of alliteration and an air of assonance. The but saying that his words do not sound the same as his father's, as he spits them out in pairs of alliteration and an air of assonance. This shows that he might have the same personality and the same passion as his father, and he may sound like his father, but he has been given words that his father has not got. Maybe his father does not have the same skill of writing as his son does. That concludes the presentation of I Have My Father's Voice. If you have any questions, you may now post them, and I will see how many I can answer. Okay. Somebody has asked, what does anagrams mean? Anagrams, as I explained, is the rearranging of letters to form another letter which could explain another meaning. If we I gave the example of poem. If you rearrange the letters, you will get the word mope, M-O-P-E, which means it could be sad or that he's unhappy, etc. What does bequeathed mean? Bequeathed means that you have left something, bestowed something upon somebody. You are often bequeathed in a testament after the passing of a person. They may mention you in their testament and say that they're leaving their jewelry to you, etc. Somebody has said, as I see, this is a poem that is prescribed for term 2. Is it possible to get the slides? Yes, it is possible. At the end of the slideshow or at the end of this presentation, you will be allowed a few minutes to download the presentation. As I said in the beginning, the presentation will also be available on YouTube. What does it mean to spew words out? To spew words out is to spit them out or to shout them out, etc. Somebody is saying, which rhyming scheme is used in this poem? There is not a definite rhyme scheme in this poem. You can have a look at it yourself and add A, B, C, Ds, etc. and you will find that it has not got a definite rhyme scheme. Can we expect this poem in the June exam? You most certainly can, but no guarantee, as you have got 12 poems to study and only 4 of them will appear in the exam paper. Okay, when answering questions about such a poem, what can you expect? What is the theme of the poem? What is the possible theme of the poem? The theme of this poem is to show how similar the son is, or the poet is like his father. And the poem shows it in ways that he does things, ways that he speaks, ways that he shouts, his irritation, everything that is similar to his father. Can the anagram use still, however, be used as alliteration? In the example of this poem where fee, fo, fi, fum, that could be an anagram changing it to a swear word. That is why it's an anagram. But using the alliteration of the F in that instance, it is emphasizing that he is furious, that he's shouting it out, fee, fo, fi, fum, and he is fuming. If we look at the next part where, and his fuming temper, the fee, fo, fi, fum, the alliteration ties up with the word fuming, stressing the fury. Which poems will be coming out for term 2 exam? I haven't got the poems right in front of me at this stage, but in my next webinar, I will list all the poems that have been completed in term 1 and which have to be completed in term 2, so that you will know, and then we can have a look at that. What nationality is the poet? You've caught me on there, but he's the poet is Van Wyk, which suggests that he is quite possibly South African. Could this poem mean that his father has passed on? It could be that he is remembering him, and when he's remembering him, he is seeing himself through his father's eyes. When do the June exams start? I think that is totally up to the lockdown in South Africa at this point. I think look out for any notifications that may be given out by MPOC. What is the tone of this poem? This poem, we can say, is reminiscing. It's could be thinking proudly of his father. He's feeling proud. He might have a bit of sadness because of this, or he might be delighted by it. Okay, somebody else has asked, has answered the question as to where the poet comes from, and he actually comes from Soweto. So definitely South African. Is it possible you can help with answering poetry answers, because I tend to write too little? A thing to remember when you are asked a question in poetry is to look at the mark allocation of the poem. Of the question. The more, if it counts 3 marks, you must know that you must elaborate a bit more on the question. In study notes that we load up, and maybe in another webinar, I will definitely look at the types of questions and give you examples on how to answer them. Would you say that the poet is proud that he resembles his father? I truly think that he is proud of it, and that at the same time he realizes that he has inherited everything from his father. He resembles everything except for the idea that his father does not write poetry where he does, so he has inherited everything. There we come back to the word of bequeath. His father bequeathed him with everything except for words. His words are his own. The link I gave at the beginning, I will see at the end whether it is possible to get back to that link. Will we have to answer essay questions in your exam paper? You always receive 4 questions on poetry, of which the first one is always an essay. When answering an essay, the question will always refer to diction, to tone, and to images, your images being your figures of speech and your sound devices. So when you answer a question, an essay question, you will always have to refer to at least one example of diction. In other words, the words that are used in the poem. You'll have to refer to at least one idea of tone, mentioning tone, and you'll have to mention imagery, in other words, figures of speech, and or sound devices, depending on what is present. If they say, if there is no noticeable rhyme scheme, can we say it is free verse? Free verse would also implicate the length, different lengths of lines. So yes, you could say it is free verse. Could we have more slides like these ones regarding the other poems that we will have to do? Certainly, yes. What does assonance mean? It is the opposite of alliteration. Alliteration is the first sounds of the words, like fee, the F in fee, fo, fi, fum. Assonance is the center parts of words. Let's say ought, court, bought, etc. Then you would have assonance. Is there a message for this poem? Yes, I think there's a message for this poem. The message being that the poet hasn't fallen far from the apple tree, that he is very similar to his father. When is the next webinar on the next poem? In 2 weeks' time, Tuesday the 21st, I think. But it's Tuesday, 2 weeks' time. In the meantime, look out for study notes, and you can also go onto my inbox to find more information. I think that rounds up the questions that have been asked, and I will now end the slideshow. If you are not registered with IMPAC, I know these might not have been much value to you, but certainly look out for other webinars on other subjects. You can contact info@impac.co.za. Please remember to download this presentation before you exit this webinar. You will find them on the right-hand side or at the bottom of your presentation. Thank you and goodbye till we meet again.